Hello everyone, back again with another rectification video slash tutorial slash a bit of interpretation. I mean, this guy got a bit popular after he came out on Netflix, his movie, but I've read his chart a very long time ago, and I thought I'd make a video about the rectification and the result that I got. Now if we begin our rectification here, let's just briefly interpret his horoscope. Now this guy's a serial killer for almost a decade, and he wasn't caught mainly because, I mean, his ability to lie to the police, very clear, with a Sun Mercury conjunction in Gemini, gives great facility with words. Also the Neptune in the first house makes the person evasive and difficult to detect. Now from the psychological point, I mean, you have Saturn and the Moon in square. This is actually a mundane pattern because it's on an angle. I mean, the square of Saturn here and the square of the Moon at the same opposition, of the Moon at the same time to the ascendant negatively impact the health and emotional balance of the person. Also, the ruler of the ascendant is squaring Uranus. There are 3 planets in the 8th house. Pluto squares the Sun in the 8th. So here the compulsion becomes clear. Uranus squared the ruler of the ascendant, and Pluto squares the Sun. Both of these in the 8th house, and the ruler of the ascendant is in conjunction with the 8th house. Although the orb is a bit wide, but it's fine. So here, from a psychological perspective, not healthy at all. And now the way he dies is he gets his skull smashed, and we can see here weakness in the part of the body related to the planet placed in the 6th house. Now we need to also remember here that the ruler of the 12th is in conjunction with the Sun. The orb is about 5 degrees, and the south node opposes the 12th. So let's get to the rectification now. I mainly used 2 events here, and I used progressed sidereal solar returns to verify the time. Now, get my rectification software up here, and I plugged in the events. The death of his mother, that's the event that I mainly used, and secondarily his death. Okay, so if first let's look at transits, both direct and converse for both events. So we have for the date of his death, it's very important to look at converse transits because they give us a different side to the story. It's like the opposite side of a coin. Now this is for the date of his death, and these are direct transits. Okay, and what we notice is the south node in conjunction with the 8th. There's a square from Uranus and Neptune to the ascendant, and these 2 planets are also on the IC. So this is a good beginning. If we look at converse transits here, we can see Saturn opposing the 8th, and the orb is almost 1 degree. We have also I mean, we have a square from Pluto to the ascendant, very indicative, and we have an opposition from Uranus to the 12th house. Now the orb I'm using here is 6 degrees and 30 minutes for transits, both direct and converse. Very satisfactory results for the date of his death. If you look at our second event here, which is the death of his mother, or the death of his mother, okay, we can see there's a Venus here and there's a south node here, both of them square the descendant. You have Venus close to the IC. There's a square from Uranus to the 8th. So when I'm doing these rectifications, I don't look at like Saturn conjunct Venus, because these don't help. I only use the intermediate house cusps and the angles, because these help me move the time. So here the square from Uranus to the 8th house, very indicative. I also use the planets from Jupiter to Pluto, because they're the strongest. Also, this square from the south node to the descendant, very clear here, supported by Venus. If we look at converse transits for a bit, you see there's a square from this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction to the 8th house. So pretty satisfying results here. I don't think we need to go beyond half an hour on either side of the time that we have. So it's 21:34. It's okay to go just 30 minutes before or after. I'll do a bit less than that. And these are the orbs that I like to use. Now for me, the time that I landed on, and the time that I am 100% sure is correct, is this one right here. Now I didn't use these the arrest date and the trial date because basically I didn't need them, but you can use them if you want. I don't need them to do my work here. I opened up progressed solar returns, progressed sidereal solar returns for the death of his mother, and there was a very telling aspect to me, two aspects actually that were very helpful. There is a square from the moon to the descendant here, okay? At the same time, there's a trine from Venus, which rules women, to the 12th house. Very frequent with deaths of females, but for these aspects, both of them to line up in orb is something very important. So if we just increase the time to this time right here, which is 2 minutes and 48 seconds after the recorded birth time, these two aspects come into orb. You can see here how this trine from Venus to the 12th is 6 minutes from being exact, and the square from the moon to the descendant is about 13 minutes away. I mean, we can check here. It's actually exactly 13 minutes, the square of the moon to the descendant. So a very, very good result here. If we can check the primary directions real quick. So we have for the death of his mother, we have there's a south node moves to a square with the 8th house in converse motion, of course. So it moves from here to here, around here, and squares the 8th house. 4.7 minutes. Made a mistake here. I don't think the south node appears because this is the recorded time, but we'd have to see. Yeah, okay, it's different. It's not the south node. Well, it's the 8th house. So the 8th house moves in direct motion this time from here to a square with the with the south node here, but this moves to Sagittarius, correct, which should be Gemini. So it moves from Taurus to Gemini in direct motion and squares the south node in Pisces. The Venus also moves to a square with the 12th. You see how these two aspects line up. We have the conjunction of Uranus with the 12th. In secondary progressions, what do we have here? The ascendant moves to a conjunction with Venus. I mean, you might say that this is not an appropriate aspect, but sometimes it appears in the deaths of females. You find Venus on the descendant. And for the date of his death, in primary directions, there's only a semi-square between, excuse me, a sesquiquadrate between the 8th and Pluto. But in secondaries, there's a very important square between the ascendant and Uranus. This is a critical and very sensitive square. Also the sextile between the 8th and Uranus. And the rest is just minor. You have here an opposition between the Moon and Saturn. So this is the rectification for Jeffrey Dahmer. I hope you got something out of it. Thank you for watching, and please hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And take care.